Hello there, YouTube. It's unfortunate I've not been able to post videos the last couple of days. I have been trying to get my videos up, but since I moved into my new place, I have not been able to really do much of anything with the videos. I recorded a few videos, I recorded the audio. Foolishly didn't listen back to it to find out that the audio is incredibly echoey. In fact, this video is probably quite echoey as well. This is at least being recorded on my camera, so it's probably less of an issue than what I was recording with my microphone as voiceover for a video earlier. However, I do want to make a video, put something up, because I've not put anything up properly now for a good couple of weeks, and I've been kind of laying off putting up any content for BookTube or anything gaming related for a while. Simultaneously, this channel has kind of exploded a little in a way I wasn't expecting. Apparently there are a lot of people who want to engage in a bit of schadenfreude at the expense of Bob Chipman, which I can understand. I would want to as well. But I want to just make a bit of an update, a bit of a vlog, as it were. This isn't going to be what the channel's going to become. I have ordered a few things to make video production a bit better, and I'm going to try to get into making more interesting, more full-featured videos with better editing and more involvement. So I've bought a little bit of cladding for the walls, so I can get a bit of soundproofing going on, try and stop this horrible echo. I've managed to get a couple of things set up so that I can do some quicker editing, some new programs I'm going to be trying out that I've been practicing with to see if I can and get something good out of them. And hopefully it will mean that I'll be able to get better quality videos up and more videos up faster, which is always a good thing. Now, I don't just want to make this an update because that's boring. I do actually want to go over what I've been reading and what I've been playing recently. I'm going to start with books because this channel started out as a BookTube channel, at least in this incarnation. So I'm going to start there. I've been reading along with the Buddy Reads on the Discord, which you can join along if you wish, though my reading speed and my ability to keep up is a lot smaller than you guys. Everyone who's on the Discord knows exactly what I mean, because they can read a remarkable amount really, really fast. I can't, which means that even though it's currently the middle of February, I still haven't finished with December's books, let alone January's. So I'm still reading Leviathan Wakes. I'm really quite enjoying it. I took a couple of small breaks, but I've reached a point in this book now where I've got a good feel for everything that's going on. The storyline has reached a certain point where it's reached a certain point now where it's going to go one of a few very clear directions, and then it could just explode from there. So I'm excited to see where they take this, but I'm a little disappointed, I will say, with how fast it went to the area it did. Because without giving away too many spoilers, a lot of things happen in this book which eventually lead to the setting basically collapsing around them. I was expecting them to get to this kind of point by like book 3 or 4. I wasn't expecting them to do it in book 1, which worries me because this is like a 9-book series and I'm wondering where they're going to go from here. Because there's not much you can do once you've gone to this level. Basically, to use like a comic book analogy, because that's a good way of looking at it. You can have like a street level comic hero, and you can have a city level comic hero, and then you can have a world class comic hero, and then you can have like a cosmic comic hero. If you do a cosmic story as your very first story, every street level and city level story is going to be incidental. It's going to be small fry. It's like the MCU trying to come up with something that will work after Thanos. You can't really top Thanos. He was, a threat to the entire universe. So I'm wondering where they can take this book, because they've already kind of gone to the point where that should be like the big series end point. Like this is the kind of storyline that should have had other storylines interweaved into it, and then this story should have been done as like the main overarching plot, I think. At least that's how it feels. I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the books. Maybe it'll get better. Who knows? But I'll see. One of the January books that I'm still reading is Senlin Ascends. This is a great and interesting read. It's I've described it in my my reading updates on Goodreads as Alice in Wonderland for adults, and I thoroughly mean that. It is really, really trippy, but in a subdued way. One of the things I hate about absurdism is that people think that you can be absurd and then no rules matter. You don't need to have consistency. Absurdism works well when it's unpredictable within a predictable manner. That it's hard to describe. Alice in Wonderland gets the balance out and out perfect. Like, things do not make sense, but within the constraints of the way they shouldn't make sense in Wonderland. You don't just walk around the corner and then all of a sudden buffalo. Just a buffalo falls out of the ground, out of the sky. Like, that just doesn't happen. But weird and stupid things happen that don't really make sense. But it's walking the fine line between making sense and so absurd that it doesn't have any framework. That there's a point in the middle, and it's hard to describe unless you just know it. You just know it when you see it. Senlin Ascends seems to reach that point. I'm not going to go into too many spoilers, but early on there is a merry-go-round that shoots beer for no reason. Like, it's comical and stupid, and if you were seeing this like in a film or something, that's just ridiculous. That's just makes no sense. And it doesn't make sense, and it's not supposed to make sense, but it's just on the edge of what they can get away with. Anything more ridiculous would be so ridiculous that it would make you put the book down, because it would be too far gone. Again, it's a hard line to follow, really, and this book does it well. The last book that I'm reading at the moment, it's not actually the last book I'm reading. I'm reading a lot of books at the moment, but this is the other book that I'm currently reading, because I like to keep my currently reading to a 3-book total, whilst I have other books on the go. There's a pile of them over by the bed. Malazan Book 1, Gardens of the Moon. This is an intimidating read, and something that loads of people are reading at the same time right now. I'm only a few chapters in. I enjoyed the opening. The opening was quite exciting. It does feel like someone took a D&D game, not quite D&D, something similar though, and turned it into a novel. And based on what I've read of Stephen Erickson's background, that's not that unreasonable a claim, because apparently it is largely based off role-playing games that he played with his friends, that he then wrote up into a screenplay. Couldn't get made into a film or TV show because it would have been way too expensive to make, so instead he rewrote it as a book, or at least a book series. I'm excited to see what they do with this, because I think that I can vibe quite well with this style of writing. I'm getting what he's trying to do quite quickly, I think. And if that's the case, I'm excited to see where this goes, because I think this could be a favourite series if it plays on the methods I'm thinking it's going to play off. So I'm hoping that I can get further in and see what I feel about those. That's what I've been reading anyway. I'm gonna go into more depth and like do reviews of these books at some point on the channel once I've got everything settled. the main reason I haven't been doing that is I recently moved house, as you know, if you've been following the channel, and then my ceiling collapsed, which was no fun. There is a video on the channel about that. So I've had to move my bedroom into the living room, and I've had to have surveyors and engineers and builders coming in and out of the house, looking at it, making sure it's safe and doing some basic work. They have still not yet actually started removing the chimney, which they need to do, because one of the chimney stacks just fell straight through the ceiling, and they need to take the whole chimney down. They haven't started doing that yet. I don't know when they're going to. They were supposed to be here today. No, my luck, halfway through this video, they're going to knock on the damn door. But yeah, they haven't started that yet. But there was someone around yesterday to make some evaluations and some measurements or whatever. So the work is starting. I'm not a builder. I don't really know what goes into it. So long as it's safe and so long as it gets done, I'm happy. I don't really care. I want the use of the upstairs of my house back as soon as I can, and as long as that happens, I'm fine. Video game wise, I have actually started playing video games again. Yay! I was going to get a PS5, but then the odd scalper thing happened, and then every PS5 was owned by like 5 people, so apparently no one gets to own a PS5, but I don't actually care all that much, because there wasn't a great deal of games I was all that excited for on the PS5. I do want to play Astro's Playroom though. Astrobot Rescue Mission was one of my all-time favourite games. I love VR. I want to see what the new Astro game does to convince me that the DualSense controller is worth it. I'm excited. Other than that, I have been playing other games. I've been playing The Division 2. I am very, very close to the Platinum Trophy in this. I just need to do a couple of little things. And I got back into it because it's a nice, comfortable game to go back to. It's a game that I really enjoy. I find it's a nice way to just spend an hour if I want to relax. I'm very familiar with the missions. I'm very familiar with the systems. So it's a nice... It's a nice way to switch off if I want to relax. So, Division 2 is a great game for me for that. I do think it is actually an underrated game for what it is. I feel that the Division 2 is... it's not just another live service open world. This is basically what would happen... Don't know what that was. This is basically what would happen if you made a real-time XCOM. Imagine you took XCOM 2 and you took the tactical thinking of XCOM, made it into a real-time multiplayer game where you're only controlling one character. That's how this feels if you're playing it with friends. It is designed to be played with other people. You can play it single player. I play it single player all the time. I am always going through missions and just playing them through on my own. And it's a perfectly serviceable third-person shooter if you play it that way. But on the higher difficulties, with friends, it becomes a real tactical shooter where you have to flank and you have to prepare your abilities to work alongside the abilities of your friends. It is a fantastic game in that regard, and I think that it is given way too much shit for being just another Ubisoft open world, because it's not really. It is a Ubisoft open world, but it's not just another one. It's not got the same tropes that a lot of the Ubisoft open worlds have. It's not got all the busy work that a lot of them have. This is a lot more engaging and has a lot more individual design behind each of its missions than, say, the copy-paste scenarios and areas in the new Assassin's Creed series, for example. Having played Origins and Odyssey, you can see that a lot of it is copy-pasted after a while, and a lot of the missions are very samey. A lot of the AI is very samey. This is not the case. So I do think the Division 2 is a crop above for the standard Ubisoft game. Other than that, there's not a great deal else I've been playing, other than a few platformers. I tend to play a lot of platformers. They are my favourite genre, and I kind of consider them different from the mainstream gaming. Like, mainstream gaming has a lot of tropes and a lot of gameplay mechanics about it that are here. Standard platformers are very, very different. There's a crossover. Something like Ratchet and Clank is very, very mixed and in the middle. It's got elements of the platformer design, but it's got a lot of elements of modern AAA gaming as well. But if you go to 2D games, there's been a lot of new 2D platformers that have just kind of cropped up. Recently, Cyber Shadow came out, which I don't have a box to show you because it's a digital game, though as soon as it gets a physical release, I will be buying one. It's bound to get one at some point. One of those, either Limited Run or one of the companies that copied Limited Run, will do a limited physical copy of this because collectors will want it. And it's published by Yacht Club Games, which made Shovel Knight, and Shovel Knight's had multiple physical releases, so it will happen. It's just a matter of time, basically. So I've been playing a little bit of that. That was actually really fun. I think it's a better Ninja 8-bit to 16-bit revival than the Messenger was, because I found the Messenger, even though it's probably got a higher skill ceiling than Cyber Shadow, I found that its controls were really finicky, which actually gives it the higher skill ceiling. You've got to be really, really good with those controls to get the Ninja to do what you want. They're not bad controls, but they are awkward. Possibly intentionally awkward, because it really heightens that skill ceiling to need to quickly press like a 2 or 3 button combo with very, very exacting timing. But I found the Messenger was a lot harder than most of its contemporaries, where Cyber Shadow is nowhere near as hard as that, at least from what I've played so far. It may ratchet it up at the late game and become exceptionally hard. I've also been playing Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2, which is basically Castlevania in all but name. It's pretty good. I played Curse of the Moon, the first one, all the way through and completed that. It sadly didn't have a platinum trophy for me to go for, but I pretty much completed every mode I could. And this new one is larger, has more content, and actually has a full platinum trophy. So if you want to really push yourself forwards and play some really intense old school platforming, this is definitely one to go for. Again, don't have a physical copy to show you, largely because I don't think it's had a physical release, but as soon as it gets one, I'm almost certain to buy it. But that's pretty much all I've been doing gaming-wise. I have been watching a little bit of TV recently, which I don't normally do. I don't get much time to watch TV and films anymore because I'm either reading, or I'm playing video games, or I'm running my D&D games, which have taken over my other games. I used to run games like World of Darkness and Shadowrun, but those campaigns have ended. I watched a little bit of TV, managed to watch some WandaVision. Disney Plus is actually surprisingly good value. I wasn't expecting that. I wouldn't have thought that if anyone was going to gouge you for money, it'd be Disney, but Disney Plus actually offers quite a lot of value there. So I watched WandaVision, the first 5 episodes, really enjoyed that. I quite enjoy the MCU. I think it's a very, very good series for what it is, and I think that a lot of people want to play it off as being rather simplistic and just average, and well, it's all the same. Well, it's not all the same. It's not even close to being all the same. You've got comedy heist films, and you've got spy action, and they're not the same, and not even slightly. And then you've got differences even within them. Like if you were to compare something like Guardians of the Galaxy to Ant-Man, they're both action comedy, but they have very, very different tones to them. And there's no way you can reasonably compare either one of them to Winter Soldier, which is a pretty dark spy thriller. There's a lot of difference there. Now, if you add in the TV shows, then it becomes incredible. Like shows like the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, things like that have a lot to offer. They are some of the best shows written yet. Like, the Netflix shows are some of the best shows written yet. And if WandaVision is any example of what we're going to get, they're trying new experimental things with the MCU, but it is on par quality-wise with the likes of Daredevil and Jessica Jones. It really is. So I'm quite pleased with the MCU. It has its stinkers. I mean, let's face it, as much as I don't think the Thor films are as bad as people make out, Thor 2 is not great. It's a bit drab. I get that. The Incredible Hulk film was, I mean, I don't even consider it canon. I don't bother with it. It was just boring. I think the Iron Man films are a lot better than people give them credit. Captain Marvel was a steaming pile of shit, but they had to have at least one bad film eventually after over 20 films. But yeah, they have a few little issues. They've got a few wrinkles. Like the later seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have been crap as well. But yeah, we had 4 pretty good seasons. In fact, we had 3 pretty good seasons and 1 amazing season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So the MCU has plenty to offer. Other than that, I've been playing my roleplay games. That's been fun. I've started my West Marches game, which if you're in the Discord, you can join in there. And yeah, the West Marches is an interesting idea. It's a way of playing D&D without having a reliable time to play D&D, and you can actually roll in constant games into that, which is what I'm doing. So I've got 2 constant games that I run, one on Wednesday, one on Monday, and those games happen at the same time with a set player group. Those players will be playing through, and their characters will be affecting the world. On top of that, I have the West Marches, which is the universe that these 2 campaigns are set in that happen in different places and have different storylines. West Marches characters can then go on pre-planned single-session adventures and influence the major cities. And what they do in the West Marches will affect the major cities, which means that when the big campaigns that I'm running weekly show up at those cities, the things that the West Marches characters have done will alter how those cities appear. So if you do a big job in Waterdeep, for example, then when the characters in the Monday game visit Waterdeep, the things you did will change how Waterdeep appears to them. So even if you're not in the same game, even if you've never met, the things your characters do in individual games will affect what other characters do. And that's a really, really interesting thing. It's basically, to use the MCU as the obvious example, it's basically one huge continuous universe. And I really like that. I enjoy the freedom, and I'm going to use this as an excuse to expand the channel a little bit more and make a couple of little videos occasionally on D&D and role-playing in general. I was going to make a couple of role-playing videos anyway, but I'm going to keep it to Dungeons & Dragons for now, because that's what I happen to be running. It's not my favourite system. It's not a system that I run actually all that often. I tend to run Shadowrun or World of Darkness way more often. But D&D is the game I need at the moment. With the way that everything's going at the moment, with the lockdowns now months and months into it, D&D is a good escapism game. It is very, very good at being out there and fantastical, and not too serious. You can do grim moments. You can have like a strewn field of dead bodies and things like that at a war zone, where you walk through and you've seen the evil bad guy has killed all these people, and there's dead bodies everywhere, and you're traipsing through, and it's raining and it's grim, but it's still fantastical. It's not dread. It's not depressing. It's fantasy death, and fantasy death. It's a hard way to describe, but it's a way of making It's a way of making the setting and the stakes much higher without making the setting too dark. It's the difference between having a huge fantasy world with with magic and death and all of that happening around you, and then having something like Game of Thrones, where the deaths there are really, really intense and can really drag something down that becomes what people have described as grimdark. I think that there's a difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's a difference where the first one you can kind of enjoy and just revel in the setting, even though characters are dying and horrific things are happening. I think that's the kind of thing I'm going to get actually out of Malazan. It's gonna feel in many ways like a grimdark story, but it's not going to have the atmosphere of a grimdark story. That's what I'm hoping to get from this. The same kind of thing you get from a darker, more realistic D&D game, but is still in essence a D&D game. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming to get from that, and that's what I hope to get from playing D&D. So that's what I've been doing anyway. Like I say, the channel has somewhat exploded. I've doubled my subscriber count, more than doubled, I think, in fact. I was on a little over 300. I'm now, I think, just about hitting 700 subscribers. So I've had over 300 people subscribe off the back of that one MovieBob video. So that was unexpected. It's had almost 3,000 views now. But yeah, welcome to all the new people. I'm probably not going to be making that many videos on YouTube drama, so if you subscribe for that, you're going to be a bit disappointed, I think. But if you want to stick around, I'm going to be talking about books and games and occasionally things like D&D and TV shows, and I'm going to make the occasional vlog like this. The majority of my videos aren't just going to be rambling vlogs like this. This was just something I wanted to do because I want to put something up on the channel. I want to put something up to talk to the community and say hi and, you know, show that I'm still active and doing something. I do have 4 videos currently that are in pre-production, as it were, where I've scripted them out, I've said what I want to say, and I'm ready to make those videos. They're going to be less rambly like these vlogs, and have a little bit more of a punch to the content that I want to give to you, like statements I want to make. It's nothing serious. It's still going to be about books and video games and things like that. So it's nothing overly important. Like, let's not pretend that we're doing anything profound here. We're talking about entertainment, but it's not going to be rambling like this. I may make more vlogs. Hell, if my subscriber count keeps climbing, I may be able to put these those user polls in and see what people are more interested in actually hearing from me. But either way, I want to stick to video games and books, because those are the things I've been enjoying. So it's all going to be reading and gaming on this channel for the most part. Though you could, I suppose, consider D&D to be a nice bridge between the two, because it's writing the scenarios, writing the stories. It's got a lot of the story elements that I like from discussing books. I can discuss the stories I'm coming up with, the writing and the world building in the same way as I can with books. And at the same point, I can discuss game mechanics in the same way as I would with video games. So it is, in many ways, a great bridging point between the two hobbies. So I'll probably discuss that on some level. Until then, I'll see you guys next time, and hopefully I can get those videos up. I'm going to probably have to re-record the audio because the echo was so bad. The microphone at my computer, it was like I was speaking in a cathedral. It was awful. I tried cleaning it up, I couldn't do anything with it, so I'm going to re-record the audio. I think shouldn't take too long. I've got everything else ready. I just need to put in a new audio track, and then we're done. So hopefully those will be up in a few days, and until then, see ya. Bye.